How did you meet?
My son needed a haircut.
Okay.
Rodney's a barber.
Yeah, I know he loved his kids. I know he loved his family, so he was a family person.
I just think he's a good guy. And I wish that he was still here cutting my hair, like I'm sure a lot of his clients.
Rodney, like many others, is, completely a stand-up part of his community. The way the Trump administration has acted like they're going after the worst of the worst criminals is so clearly false.
46-year-old Rodney Taylor has lived in this country since his mother brought him here from Liberia at the age of 2.
Taylor is a double amputee. Well, recently ICE arrested him, and now he's facing deportation.
It's June 25th. That was the very first protest we did.
When you first heard the news, Biggs, how did you feel?
Well, I couldn't believe it. I thought, it took me by surprise. I didn't know Park's whole situation at this time. So I used to say stuff like, well, if you ain't from here and you ain't got your stuff right, you need to get up out of here. Until it hit home.
The Trump administration says it's deported over 600,000 immigrants in its first year, prioritizing the worst of the worst. But as we've gone out to investigate the deportation wave, we've found a totally different story of those in ICE custody. People like Rodney Taylor.
I mean, how he's even got here to the States is wild. It's like, playing the lottery and winning, $2.3 billion. This is the chance of his survival coming here. Rodney was born with a disability. He was born with a missing foot on his left leg, club foot on his right, missing digits in his right hand in Liberia, West Africa. And at that time, it was taboo if you were a child born with disabilities. Rodney's mom learned about Shriners Children's Hospital coming, so she, brought Rodney there to be seen. And when they assessed him, they saw that he can potentially live a better life. Shriners helped him, his mom, and helped him get here to the United States. Rodney became a barber at the age of 15. His aunt pushed him and said, hey, I don't care if you think you have a disability, you don't have a disability to me. And so for you to be able to live a good life and support yourself, I'm gonna put you in this program. He was accused of burglary at the age of late teens. Somebody broke into the neighbor's house, I think stole the stereo, and they broke in through a window. At that time, back then, in 1997, the prosthetics were actually made out of wood. So they were extremely heavy. And so to climb out of a window is almost impossible. And to carry stereo system on top of climbing out of a window is basically impossible for him. Yet, they still railroaded him, accused him of burglary, told him, hey, if you don't plead guilty, you will serve 5 years. After that, Rodney learns that he does not have any legal status. He's had his pardon from 2010, and the pardons that 97 burglary. And so we really believe that he would not be targeted.
All right, my name is Glenn Hamilton. They call me G in the barbershop. Me and Rodney been working together for about 8 to 10 years. Yeah, right here at this. That's Rodney's spot right there in the back of the barbershop. And Rodney loves his craft of barbering. And what makes it even more special is that although he hasn't been in the shop now for about 8 or 9 months, a lot of his clients still come into the barbershop, and not one time do they ever come in here and not ask, how is he doing?
When you sit down in his chair, it's almost like, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? How's school going? I was working on my doctoral degree with Park. He's like, hey man, you must be stressed today. I was like, yeah, I am. Like, cut it off. He's like, no, we're not gonna cut your hair off.
He would definitely go out and do a lot of free haircuts for the community. And definitely his conversation about cancer awareness in the barbershop with men's health was very impactful. For people who didn't know anything about it, he was giving the information to help us out.
He really pushed healthcare. He's like, hey, Carla, has your husband done this? Has your husband done this? That, for making sure that his checkups are yearly.
Could you describe what happened to Pac?
Okay. Pac had an app, right? He has an app for his barbershop. And so that's how you make your appointment. So I was like, well, dang it. I made this appointment and it didn't get accepted. It's like, he always accepts my appointments. I was like, well, dang.
The reaction was just shock. I could just say that. It was like a gut punch.
Yeah, so we were pulling out here at the driveway. And I noticed a car in the cul-de-sac. It's very easy to get in a car accident when you have cars parked there. So cars typically don't park there. We literally get stopped, and not stopped because sirens. No, we get stopped because a car drives, looked like there's gonna come and hit me in the front. So I stopped. And then another car came behind that car. Then a third car. And then as I'm trying to figure things out, I look in my rearview mirror, there's 2 cars behind me. That same car that was in the cul-de-sac is now pinned behind me. So I can't move forward, I can't move backward. And at this point is when I turn off my car. The kids are like, Mommy, what's happening? Who are these people? I'm like, I don't know. No police car, unmarked. Everybody's wearing black. They still have their guns. And some of them had their hands on their guns, and some of them had their guns drawn. It was like a scene from a movie. Rodney Taylor, you're under arrest. Oh, cool. Now I'm asking questions. Who are you? Why? He's under arrest. What happened? The kids are crying. I can't hear. I'm trying to process what's all that's happening. They allowed Rodney to take his phone and his phone charger. And they handcuffed him and they put him in the car. And so Rodney's like, where are you guys taking me? Where are you guys taking me? And they were like, well, we're taking you to ICE office. And I'm like, where's ICE office? What does ICE mean? At that time, I didn't even know the acronym of ICE. I had no idea. And he's like, just Google it. ICE Atlanta, Google it. So then I did eventually. It just didn't make any sense. Then I'm like, they picked him up. It's wrong. It's wrong. They picked up the wrong Rodney Taylor. Clearly, it's the wrong person. So I'm like, I'm convinced it's the wrong Rodney Taylor. So how do I start advocating? Who do I call? Like, they got the wrong guy. Like, clearly, it's because it's the only way I could process why this is happening. They got the wrong guy. And so as I'm finding out, it is Rodney Taylor. And he was just one of those of many that got picked up.
Since the start of this fiscal year, nearly 3 out of every 4 people booked into ICE custody had no criminal conviction at all, and only about 5% had ever been convicted of a violent crime.
The way that they went about this, abducting Rodney and so many others, is the real threat to our community. And to be incarcerated, put into detention, taken away from his community, taken away from his supports, not having his disability being taken care of, him not really being able to get around, to be stuck in one place in these detention centers that we know, especially in Georgia, are terrible conditions, terrible food, terrible, plumbing and health systems for people. Even if you're not disabled, you can come out much worse. And for him to be in that place, it just shows that the Trump administration is in the business of cruelty and of pulling people out to make them a scapegoat to cover up for what the Trump administration wants to do.
The conditions is overcrowded. The place is very overcrowded. As far as health-wise, they really tend to your issues, and the time period it takes for them just to get you to the doctor is almost 2 to 3 weeks. And, the conditions is a lot of deplorable, very deplorable. The food they feed you is not healthy, and, a lot of people have some pre-existing issues, so they pretty much just put a Band-Aid on everything and wait for you to get deported. The people who run this, I feel like it's like they don't care about the people. They care more about the bottom line and how much profits they can make in pocket. And thereby you are guilty until you prove you're innocent.
Taylor isn't facing criminal charges and has been convicted of nothing. ICE detention centers are not supposed to be jails, but they are effectively being used as such, indefinitely holding people for alleged immigration violations as their cases wind through an overcrowded system that is now bursting at the seams. And in places like Stewart Detention Center, a private facility owned by Core Civic, every detainee is a payday.
During the summer, the air conditioning was not working for 2 months. And on top of that, there were the AC, I guess it was leaking large amounts of water from the roof. The ACs are on the roof. So it was leaking through the ceiling onto the walls, onto the ground. So you have about a centimeter or two of water on the ground on top of this hot atmosphere. There aren't no windows to crack open, right? So it's just hot. And one day they were trying to do count, and they told Rodney, go to your room so you could do count. Well, Rodney's not too far from his room, but that morning they did not take him to charge his leg. He's unable to walk. And so he tells them, well, can you just do count here? Like, count me here. That way I don't have to move. They told him, oh, you're being difficult. You need to get up and go. He's like, no, I'm not being difficult. I'm telling you what it is. Oh, no, you're being difficult. Are you yelling at it? He's like, what? I'm not yelling. We're having a candid conversation. Like, you already know that I can't walk these distances, and you know that nobody brought me to get my leg charged yesterday or this morning. Rodney calls me immediately. He said, Mill, if you don't hear from me tomorrow, either they transferred me or they did something bad to me the next day, which is rare. Rodney usually calls me. I didn't hear Rodney that night. The next afternoon, rather. He calls me. He said, Mill, I'm in solitary confinement. I said, excuse me? They put me in a hole. I said, what? How are you able to use the phone? He said the assistant warden that helped the day before saw me in here and couldn't understand why I'm here because it's not documented that I am here. Rodney was there for 2.5 days. He didn't shower. He had no access to water. He barely ate. And he was in the room for 23 hours at a time because he told them that I cannot stand up. Yeah. That was hard.
What's happening to Rodney Taylor isn't an exception. Across the country, families and communities are watching loved ones disappear into detention centers like Stewart. Not because they're dangerous, not because they've been convicted of violent crimes, but because all the machinery of deportation requires is an opportunity. A gardener walking down the street, a mother coming to court appointment, or in this case, a father of 7 U.S. citizens here since he was 2, a barber beloved by his community, a black man who just showed up on a list somewhere.
We just can't wait till you come back in here, have the energy of the shop and the dynamics, and no matter what the outcome may be, we know he's gonna be strong because he's a fighter.
And we've just been texting and everything and say, hey, what can I do? What can I do for him? Because, not only was Pac a barber, that he was a person in the community, but he was also my friend.
I'm not just his fiancée anymore. I'm his advocate, but I'm not just his advocate. I'm other detainees of color that are disabled advocates too.